The truth is that you're never in full control of your decisions. Think about it. Your mind is full of traps, psychology traps, that subtly influence your thoughts and actions without you even realizing. Today, I'll reveal 30 powerful psychology traps that can shape your decisions, relationships, and habits. Trap number 1, cognitive dissonance. This trap creates mental discomfort when your actions and beliefs don't align. Imagine this. You skip the gym after promising to get fit. Instead of admitting you slacked off, your brain might say, "One day off doesn't matter." That's dissonance at work, trying to protect your ego. Here is an example from Leon Festinger's A Theory of Cognitive Dissonance. Festinger studied a cult that believed the world would end on a specific date. When the world didn't end, instead of abandoning their belief, the cult members rationalized the event by claiming that their prayers and faith had prevented the apocalypse. To reduce the discomfort caused by the discrepancy between their beliefs and reality, they changed their interpretation of the event. Trap number 2, the gambler's fallacy. This is a cognitive bias where someone believes that the outcome of a random event is influenced by previous outcomes, despite the events being independent of each other. This misconception, also known as the Monte Carlo fallacy or the fallacy of the maturity of chances, often leads gamblers to make irrational decisions, such as expecting a win after a streak of losses. A common strategy tied to this fallacy is the martingale system, a gambling trick where a player doubles their stake after each loss. The idea behind the martingale system is that eventually a win will occur and the player will recover all previous losses plus a profit equal to the initial bet. While it may seem logical, this strategy is risky as it assumes unlimited resources and ignores the reality of betting limits, making it prone to catastrophic losses during a prolonged losing streak. Imagine flipping a fair coin. If the coin lands on heads 5 times in a row, the gambler's fallacy would make someone think that tails is more likely on the next flip. However, the probability of each flip remains 50-50 because coin flips are independent events. Trap number 3, the Dunning-Kruger effect. Have you ever met someone who's supremely confident about something they barely understand? That's the Dunning-Kruger effect in action. It's a cognitive bias where people with low ability or knowledge in a particular area overestimate their competence. In simple terms, the less you know, the more you think you know. This concept was first introduced by psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger in 1999. Their groundbreaking study demonstrated that people who perform poorly in a task often lack the self-awareness to recognize their incompetence. For example, someone who's terrible at cooking might believe they're a master chef because they don't understand what true culinary skill looks like. On the flip side, highly skilled individuals often underestimate their abilities because they assume others find the task just as easy. This is why experts sometimes second-guess themselves, while amateurs dive in with unwarranted confidence. Trap number 4, anchoring bias. Ever noticed how the first number or idea thrown at you influences everything that follows? That's anchoring bias. For example, if a car is listed for $30,000 and you negotiate it down to $20,000, it feels like a win, even if the car was overpriced to begin with. The takeaway here is that you should always research before making decisions and question the initial anchor point. Trap number 5, the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. This is also called the frequency illusion. This is the trap where once you notice something, it suddenly seems to appear everywhere. For example, after learning about a specific car model, you start spotting it on the road constantly. Or you learn of a new word and start seeing and hearing it often. This happens because your brain becomes more attuned to recognizing it, not because the object or event has become more frequent. To avoid being misled, remember this is just your mind's selective attention at work, not a real increase in occurrences. Trap number 6, confirmation bias. This trap is like wearing blinders. You focus on information that confirms what you already believe, ignoring everything else. Look into your life. How often do you seek opinions that challenge your views? That is so rare. Instead, we stick to people, content, and ideas that make us feel validated. If you believe a certain phone is the best, you'll likely only focus on positive reviews and ignore the negative ones. This bias can limit your perspective and hinder objective decision-making. To overcome it, actively seek diverse opinions and question your assumptions. Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. Seek out opposing views, and you'll see the world through a clearer lens. Trap number 7, sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy is all about refusing to let go. You've invested time, money, or energy into something, so you stick with it, even if it's failing. Whether it's a dead-end job, a bad movie, or a toxic friendship, this trap keeps you stuck. It's like staying on a sinking ship because you've already bought the ticket. Remember, you can't recover what's lost. Make decisions based on future value, not past investment. Hey, have you subscribed yet? Please do if you have not. And also hit the like button. We do appreciate that. The halo effect. This is a visual trap. When we see one positive trait like beauty or confidence, we assume everything else about that person is equally amazing. This bias clouds judgment, especially in hiring, relationships, or shopping. Don't let appearances fool you. Take time to assess the whole picture before making decisions. Trap number 9, the ostrich effect. The ostrich effect is when you bury your head in the sand to avoid negative information. For instance, avoiding your bank statements because you're afraid of what you'll see. But ignoring problems doesn't make them go away. Face the facts head on. Even if it's uncomfortable, it's the only way to solve them. Trap number 10, availability heuristic. This trap tricks you into thinking what's easiest to recall is the most important. For instance, if you hear about a plane crash on the news, you might start fearing air travel, despite it being far safer than driving. To avoid this, rely on data, not just gut feelings or recent headlines. Trap number 11, the Zeigarnik effect. Ever been haunted by an unfinished task? That's the Zeigarnik effect, where your brain fixates on incomplete activities. It's why you can't relax after leaving work undone, or why cliffhangers keep you binge-watching a series. The fix? Use this trap to your advantage. Break big tasks into smaller chunks and leave a small part incomplete. Your brain will push you to return and finish it. Trap number 12, the von Riestorff effect. This is the tendency to remember things that stand out as different from the rest. For example, in a list of grocery items like apples, bananas, and rainbow glitter, you're more likely to recall the unusual item because it disrupts the pattern. Marketers often exploit this by using bold colors or unique packaging to make their products memorable. Trap number 13, loss aversion. Humans hate losing more than they love winning. This is loss aversion. For instance, you're being told you've just earned a $200 bonus, only to hear it will be taken away unless you meet a condition. The pain of losing it feels far worse than the joy of gaining it. Marketers exploit this with phrases like only 2 left in stock or last chance to save. Beat this trap by focusing on the bigger picture and the potential benefits, not just what you fear losing. Trap number 14, the Pygmalion effect. This trap works both ways. The Pygmalion effect means people tend to live up or down to the expectations placed on them. If someone believes you're talented, you're more likely to perform well. But if they think you'll fail, that negativity can drag you down. Watch out for this in your relationships and self-talk. Set high expectations for yourself and others, and watch how it transforms outcomes. Trap number 15, overconfidence bias. Have you ever caught yourself thinking, that could never happen to me? That's the overconfidence bias at work. It's our tendency to overestimate our abilities, knowledge, or control over situations. This bias can lead to reckless decisions, overlooked risks, or even stagnation in personal growth. Remember, humility is a strength, not a weakness. Stay grounded, seek feedback, and always be open to learning. It's the surest way to shield yourself from this mental trap. Trap number 16, the spotlight effect. You walk into a room, and you're convinced everyone is staring at your mismatched socks. The truth is that they're not. This is the spotlight effect, where you overestimate how much people notice or care about your mistakes. The truth? Most people are too focused on themselves to notice you. Use this to your advantage. Embrace your quirks and stop letting imaginary judgment hold you back. Trap number 17, the IKEA effect. Ever notice how much more you value something you've built yourself? That's the IKEA effect. When you assemble a piece of furniture or complete a DIY project, your effort gives it extra emotional value. This happens because your brain associates the time and effort invested with increased worth. The downside? This bias can make you cling to flawed or impractical creations simply because you worked hard on them. The fix? Step back and evaluate the true quality of your work, not just the effort you put into it. Sometimes it's okay to let go or ask for help. Trap number 18, the bandwagon effect. Have you ever watched a movie or jumped on a trend just because everyone else was doing it? That's the bandwagon effect in action. It's the psychological trap where people adopt behaviors or make decisions based on what's popular, not necessarily what they truly like. Take the movie Avatar 2009 as an example. When it hit theaters, it wasn't just a film, it became a global event. Even people who weren't fans of sci-fi or 3D films flocked to watch it because it felt like the thing to do. Social proof and fear of missing out fueled its success, turning it into one of the highest grossing films of all time. The danger of this trap is that it can lead you to follow the crowd without questioning whether the decision aligns with your values or interests. To break free, pause and ask yourself, do I genuinely want this? Or am I just following the hype? Trap number 19, the reciprocity trap. This occurs when someone does something for you, like giving a small gift or favor, and you feel obligated to return it. It's why charities send you free calendars or salespeople offer free samples. While reciprocity is a beautiful principle, don't let it manipulate you. Give back out of genuine appreciation, not guilt or pressure. Trap number 20, the framing effect. Did you know how something is presented can change how you feel about it? That's the framing effect. For example, would you rather eat food labeled 90% fat-free or 10% fat? They're the same thing, but the positive frame makes one sound better. Politicians, marketers, and even friends use this trick to sway your opinions. The solution is to always reframe the information yourself. Ask, what's the other side of this story? Trap number 21, social proof. Ever bought something because it had a ton of positive reviews? That's social proof. While it's helpful in some cases, it can also lead you astray. Just because others like something doesn't mean it's right for you. There are financial apps with thousands of glowing reviews, but hidden fees often go unnoticed in overlooked critical reviews. Social proof can mislead you. Popularity doesn't guarantee the best choice. Always do your own research and trust your instincts. Trap number 22, the endowment effect. Do you value something more simply because you own it? That's the endowment effect. For example, you might refuse to sell a sweater for $30 even if you wouldn't pay $30 for it in a store. Ownership skews our sense of value. Be mindful of this when decluttering, selling, or making decisions about what's truly worth keeping. Trap number 23, primacy and recency effects. You realize how people tend to remember items at the beginning, which is primacy, and end recency of a list more clearly than those in the middle. For instance, in a meeting, the first points discussed and the concluding remarks are likely to leave a stronger impression than the topics covered midway. This phenomenon is rooted in the way our memory processes information. To use this effect to your advantage, emphasize key points at the start and end of your communication. Trap number 24, attribution bias. This is the tendency to misinterpret the causes of behavior by overemphasizing personal traits while underestimating situational factors. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, you might think they're rude, internal factor, rather than considering they might be in an emergency, external factor. Trap number 25, self-serving bias. Have you noticed how we take credit for our successes, but blame failures on outside forces? If you ace a test, it's because you're brilliant. But if you fail, it's because the teacher was unfair. This trap protects your ego, but blocks growth. To break free, practice accountability. Own your mistakes. They're stepping stones to improvement. Trap number 26, the optimism bias. This is the tendency to overestimate the likelihood of positive outcomes while underestimating the possibility of negative ones. For example, someone might assume they'll easily meet a tight project deadline without accounting for unexpected delays or challenges. While this bias can inspire confidence, it can also lead to poor preparation for challenges. To manage it, balance optimism with realism by considering potential risks alongside desired outcomes. Trap number 27, egocentric bias. The egocentric bias makes you overestimate how much others focus on you. In reality, people are too busy thinking about their own lives to obsess over yours. For instance, if you give a presentation and stumble over a word, you might feel embarrassed, assuming everyone noticed. But most people are not even attentive in the first place. The solution is to stop overanalyzing your actions. Remind yourself that others are likely as self-focused as you are, so cut yourself some slack and move on. Trap number 28, hindsight bias. After something happens, have you ever said, "I knew that was going to happen"? That's hindsight bias. Your brain rewrites history to make it seem like the outcome was obvious all along, even when it wasn't. This trap can blind you to uncertainty and oversimplify complex situations. You just need to stay humble about the past and open to the unpredictable nature of the future. Trap number 29, the false consensus effect. This is the tendency to overestimate how much others share our opinions, beliefs, or behaviors. For instance, you might assume everyone agrees with your favorite movie choice, only to be surprised when others have vastly different preferences. Don't kill yourself, man. The same bias can lead to misunderstandings and poor decision-making. To counteract it, recognize that diversity in perspectives is natural and seek input from others to broaden your understanding. Trap number 30. The FOMO, call it fear of missing out effect. This is the anxiety that arises from the belief that others are experiencing better opportunities or events while you're missing out. For example, seeing social media posts of friends at an event can make you feel left out, even if you had no interest in attending. This effect often leads to impulsive decisions and overcommitment. To overcome FOMO, focus on your priorities, practice gratitude for what you have, and remember that social media often portrays an exaggerated reality. Trap number 31. Status quo bias. This is the tendency to prefer things to remain the same rather than change, even when a change might be beneficial. It occurs when individuals resist change simply because they are comfortable with the current state or because they perceive the existing situation as safer or more familiar. This bias can lead people to make decisions that maintain the current state of affairs, even if better alternatives exist. Now that you know about these traps, you have the upper hand. So, the next time you're making a decision, ask yourself, am I thinking clearly, or is my mind playing tricks on me? If you found this video eye-opening, hit that like button and write in comments what trap you have fallen in usually. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights into how your mind works and how to master it. Thanks for watching.